Hello,
Welcome,
viewers.
and welcome to Fleet Action Report, episode 19. Wow, we're at 19.
I know, right?
This is going to be the Klingon Empire or Klingon Defense Force. If you haven't figured out by the screen so far that we are not in Federation ships at all.
And, as usual, I'm Nikodas.
And I'm Grebog. Nah.
And, no, he didn't clear his throat or cough. That is a traditional Klingon greeting that means, what do you want? Klingons are gruff. They appreciate boldness and honor. And that's goes into their language as well. So most of their language is a very gruff language. And they don't really have a direct translation for hello, you're welcome, or even thank you. They're a unique people, and they probably are the most fleshed out species in Star Trek aside from the humans.
I like them.
There's a lot of people that have issues with the Klingons. Personally, I don't. Granted, back in the TOS era, they started off being the big bads, the villains of the story. But they kind of turned into the Federation's strongest ally. But more about that later. Grebog, what have you been up to in this last week?
Outside of hurting myself, let's see. I've done some D&D, stuff and things. That's a lot of what I did some more dwarfs in space, tried out doing solo missions of dwarfs in space. And let's see, what else have I played? Oh yes, World of Warcraft. I've been doing the because Shadowlands pre-expansion event has started. I already have my hunter all the way. Got all the transmog gear that you can get from the vendors. There's still more stuff I could get off of the rares. But other than that, and then I've been starting to work on my Death Knight to get transmog. But other than that, I think that's mostly what I've done this week.
I have not had nearly as exciting a week as you. I had surgery on my lower abdomen this past Tuesday and have basically been bedridden all week. So, yeah, I wasn't actually sure if I was going to be able to make this episode. I'm glad I'm feeling up to it. Granted, I'm heavily medicated, so we'll see how this goes.
Well, as I said, if you have to go, just go. I do not want you hurting yourself over this.
I'm good.
Well, yes, we will miss you. I am sure I can figure out how to go through the notes and entertain people.
Well, that's fair enough, but I'm here, so it'll be all right. All right, so this week in STO, they made some pretty major loadout changes. This is a big deal for a lot of different people for a lot of different reasons. What they did, let me open this up here on my screen. If you go to your trait tab here, your traits are now part of your loadout. And yes, I'm missing some traits down here. This character needs more rep. Bear with me,
Same.
I'll get them there. But I also need to do the experimental upgrade on this ship. But that's coming. It's coming. All right. So your traits are now part of your loadout. So when you go to your ship and you go to your loadout screen and you drop down this menu and you save your loadout, it also saves your traits. This is a big deal. It also now saves any cosmetic changes to your character. Like if you're wearing an EV suit but you have it turned off, or if you have the Borg console, which I think I do on this character. If I can pull up the right menu here. Yes, I do. If you have the assimilated module and you go down here and disable visuals, it will now remember that. So kind of a big deal.
This is huge for the fact, like, if you, let's say you are playing a build, you get a setup that you want, you no longer have to worry. You can have your traits, your bridge officers, everything all set up the way you want it. Save it, and then now you're wanting to try out this other build that you may have read about or an idea you've had. you can easily just flip back and forth and whatnot as needed. And to me, this is cool that the traits are part of it because for certain builds, certain traits work way better for the build than, yeah.
Well, and there are traits that have no meaning at all for certain ships. I
Yeah.
mean, if you have a ship that has fighters and you fill up your tray with traits that boost fighters, and then you switch to a ship that doesn't have any fighters, all those traits are worthless. Or skills. Skills are not part of this yet, though. But that's a thing that may happen down the road. At least we have hope that it may happen down the road now. All right, so what else we got? Oh, the lifetime subscription sale is still going on. It ends December 10th. This is a $100 discount on the $300 purchase of a lifetime sub. There are, I believe, 3 races that you gain access to with that. There is a veteran ship for each. Actually, there's 2 veteran ships now. There's a tier 5 and a tier 6 for each of the races in the game. Actually, the ship that I am currently flying on my character, this is the Klingon veteran ship. So I'll give you a close-up view of this real quick. This thing's a little bit of a beast. Out of all the veteran ships, I actually believe that this one is the most powerful. And the only reason for that is it comes equipped with a battle cloak. It is the only Raptor class ship in the game that has a battle cloak.
I've got a battle cloak too. But I'm a battle cruiser.
I didn't know any of the battle cruisers had one, so there you go. But typically the battle cloaks are reserved for the bird of prey class ships.
And
all right, you want
apparently
to talk about it's cold out there?
I mean, it's cold outside. I mean, winter has come. Oh wait, no, we're talking about the event that's in game. Let me. So essentially, you have 3 weeks. Now it's down to what, 2.5, because it starts and ends on a Thursday. Yep. So you have only 2.5-ish weeks. You still have enough time to get all the completions. And on PC side, you get the Nanopulse Wartarg. And then on consoles, you will get the Malor's Flaming Sword. Something to note, in the Zen store, they put in another Targ as part of the event. And it's probably featured. And I bought it, so it's all the way at the bottom. I already claimed it, so it's already in my inventory. Essentially,
it's listed under uniforms, actually.
Yeah, but it's typically, did the price change to 800 already? I know they were doing a 50% off for 400 Zen on it, so it's not a terrible price for a battle pet. And then it's going to go up here shortly. I would imagine probably Thursday's the last day on that sale, because typically it's about a week.
And then it goes up to 800. And I apologize, guys. For some reason, uniforms was highlighted, which is why I said that. But not only does that not make sense, but I was incorrect. The Targ of Greythor is in the Personnel tab after you've purchased it.
It's the drugs he's taking.
That could be. Maybe I'm seeing things.
We'll blame the drugs. But it's a battle pet. If we do any ground combat, I will definitely pop that out and show you what it does. It's pretty neat. I already have tested it out on another character, and yeah. So, and if that was a question you might have, if you buy pretty much anything you buy in the Zen store, as long as it's not faction specific, can go to all characters on your account. The only thing that faction specific would mean is it has to be the same faction, like Federation or KDF. So,
they also announced a new Muds Market sale. This is going to be, they did Faith of the Heart last time. This time it's going to be
battle cruisers, dreadnoughts. The Tholian Dreadnought, there's a Herc Dreadnought, and then there's the one through space-time, yada yada.
Yeah, it's the Temporal
Dreadnought.
I believe it's just called the Temporal Dreadnought. Yep. So if you're interested in Dreadnought ships, check that out. It is going to be 50% off when it releases. And I think that 50% off is only going to last a week, maybe 2. I
Uh,
don't actually have those notes in front of me.
I mean, I could search quick. I mean, it's not.
Eh. All right, so like we said at the beginning of the episode, our primary target today is the Klingon Empire. So, the Klingons. When the game first launched, 10 years ago, 10 years ago, you want to say it's bad that we're on episode 19. Think about that, Grebog. We've been playing this for 10 years.
You know, it's been a while.
When the game launched 10 years ago, the Klingon faction was not a true faction. And what I mean by that is there were no missions. The only way to level a Klingon character was through PvP against the Federation. They did have an introductory quest, but it basically just walked you around the first city. And from there, you just got a ship and started fighting the Federation. The story back then evolved or revolved primarily around a new Federation Klingon war that was began by the Undine. That war is still in game, but they have added several missions to both the Federation and the Klingon side to help flesh out that story arc, and eventually another truce is called. So in the current storyline of the game, we are not at war, but the background of the game was still built on that red versus blue mentality, so you still cannot have Klingon characters flying around the galaxy in teams with Fed characters. You can't have the two factions in the same fleet. And you can't team up to do TFOs together unless you do it through a private matchmaking scenario. And I'm not sure if that would complete endeavors or not. I haven't really looked into that. We plan on doing that, some of that experimental type stuff in upcoming episodes. But we've been unable to do that as of yet. Like I said, I had a unusual week. I'll let you start on the races there, Grebog.
Well, here, I'm going to go with the unique option of I'll show them some of the races. So I'm going to step back out of the game and pick up here. Unfortunately, there is only one option to create a KDF. Technically, like we've already covered, like Romulan Republic and Dominion. Eventually, you can choose to join the KDF, but while Starfleet has Discovery Starfleet, TOS Starfleet, and then Starfleet, KDF only has KDF. You only have the Klingon Defense Force here. So,
but there is a lot of races.
There are quite a few races. Now, I do have access to the Cardassians. I think that was an unlock because I purchased the Gamma expansion. But
yes, that's a purchase.
So Klingon, Gorn, I believe Join Trill was also an unlock from probably the Lifetime. Right?
Which one? Oh, yeah, Join Trill is Lifetime. So the three, the Liberated Borg, the Join Trill, and the Talaxian are Lifetime species.
But you have all kinds of options, again, when creating characters. Even with the Klingons, you have... I will go into this just a little, because the Klingons, they have a wide variety. If you want old school Klingon appearance, you can actually pick old school Klingon, like ridge lines and stuff like that. There is, like here, this is more like some of the... Well, a lot of these are just like you have a variety of the ridge lines that they've had in the TV series, and I think you can even, if you want, can go further in the advanced on the ridge lines setup. So apparently you can also pick a top hat, but you know,
that's an unlock from a mission.
I know, it's just funny that I'm like, oh, ridges, oh, top hat. But you can change your skin. Again, with the character creation, there's all kinds of options when you do this. But here, I'm going to step back so that way You also have Gorn, which, as you can see, is the big lizard man type. They don't let you pick a male or a female. They just let you pick Gorn. If you want to check if your Gorn is male or female, go for it.
That'll be in a later episode.
Same with the Lethians. They also only have just that you just pick the race. You don't get to pick male, female. I don't know that they have an obvious male, female. Maybe there's here. I don't know all the details on there on all the species, but I don't know that they've ever really shown a male, female. So they might be one of the asexual species. You know, Nausicaans again is another one of the which Nausicaans vaguely remind me of the predator species. Vaguely. But you also have the Orions. They are the green skinned. Typically, you have male and female here of those. If you want to have a male Orion who has gotten away from the patriarchy, you know, you can do that. And then there is the ever creative alien creator. But
And as we've highlighted before, you can do a lot with that.
yeah, like this one actually is fairly interesting. The one that it just randomly put together. So yeah, that's the basic species. And you still, I don't know if that some of these species have a lot of optimization, but I'm sure they look a lot better than what they used to, I would say. I mean, this Gorn is kind of awesome looking, in my opinion, right up front. I don't think I'd want to piss him off, you know.
Kirk
So,
did.
well, you know.
Oh, and speaking of, you can actually, through playing certain missions in the game, you can unlock that TOS appearance for your Gorn. It's not in the base game. You do have to play to unlock it, but that is a option there.
Yeah.
All right, so for their jobs, the Klingon faction has the same as every other faction in the game. You can choose to be a tactical officer, an engineering officer, or a science officer, and each one has their own benefits. My Klingon officer, which actually is not a Klingon, he's a Farasan, is tactical. Farasan is a purchased race. I actually don't currently have any straight-up Klingons. I don't even have a liberated board Klingon. I like the Acacian race on the Federation side, so I bought the Farasans for the Klingon side, and I've been playing one ever since. Cat people, man. Cat people.
You can look in the Zen store. It looks like the Farasan are 600 Zen. So.
And as far as being our notes here, I went out of order. I already talked about being the red faction.
What? Or red faction? I would never have guessed with all the red on my screen.
Right? All right, let's go ahead and start our mission, and we can continue to go through our notes here as we run that. Let me find the mission. We're going to do the Klingon mission, Mars, the Bringer of War. I'm transwarping.
Same.
Okay.
Mars.
So, ship classes. Klingons have kind of their own deal going on. Over time, some of the other races have picked up some of these, but they started off as Klingon uniques. The big one is the Raider class ships. Raiders typically are birds of prey. They are the most maneuverable ships in the entire game. The Federation actually does now have a Raider, but it is a Lobi store ship. Go ahead and start the mission there, Grebog, if you haven't already. After the Raiders, the Klingon Raiders all have battle cloaks. After the Raiders come the Raptors, which is what I am flying. Raptors are more akin to the Federation escorts. Oh, and look, we're fighting Federation ships right off the bat.
Surprise! I'm shooting you.
That fight took longer than it should have. Oh, of course, I'm not on my totally optimized Federation character, am I?
No, you're not. So, something to note about Battle Cloak, or any cloak, most of them typically give you a buff when you pop out to, you know, increase your damage. So, that way you get a benefit. Though, do note, anytime you have to interact, call another person in the game, you are decloaked. It always decloaks you.
Yeah, apparently there's no way to get around communications, like revealing your location. You just can't. That's all there is to it. They're going to know where you're at.
Yeah, you know, I can hope. I'll just, whatever. It's fine.
So
it's just something that, you have to get used to.
the Battle Cloak's ability, what it does is it lets you cloak while in combat.
Like I just did now. Haha, sucker.
Most cloaks do not let you do that. The Federation, any ship on the Federation side that can cloak is not a Battle Cloak except for one. There is one exception to that, and it is a 3-piece console ability. So you have to buy all the ships in the store that correspond with that, make sure you have all the right consoles, and then you too can have a Defiant that Battle Cloaks.
With enough money, you too can Battle Cloak.
Now it should be noted that all the Romulan ships in the game Battle Cloak, even their big ones. But we're not talking about the Romulans today. So if you're in a tough spot and you need to get out of dodge, you can hit that Battle Cloak and get out of the way. The only downside to cloaking or decloaking is there's a few seconds where your shields will be down. So using the Battle Cloak in combat, while it can be handy, it can also be deadly. If you have a lot of enemies shooting at you and you hit that Battle Cloak button, your shields will go down. And in the time it takes you to cloak, your enemies can potentially kill you. I've had it happen before. That being said, if your shields are out anyway, what do you got to lose? Oh, we are going to go on a ground map. There you go, Grebog.
I'll whip out the Targ.
Yeah,
he's some hot stuff.
Okay. So we've talked about the Raiders and the Raptors. The next ship would be a warship. These ships are another escort type variant, very similar to the Federation escorts or even the more recent Federation warships.
So
they tend to be fast maneuvers. I'm trying to get this guy down. His shields are pretty tough. Fast maneuvers, lots of weapons up front. Not so many weapons in the rear. And then they do have science vessels, although typically the Klingon faction science vessels are of opposing, or not opposing, but other races. The Gorn have some science vessels. I believe the Lethians have a science vessel. Don't quote me on that. But they tend to be, I'm sorry, the Orions. Yes. Okay, so that's where you get your science vessels from, although a lot of the carriers are also science vessels, or at least science-oriented. And I believe there are now 2 full Klingon carriers and a bunch of half carriers in the escort and cruiser division. After carriers, you have battle cruisers, which are very much like the Federation battle cruisers. They are cruisers, but they tend to turn a little faster than most standard cruisers. And they tend to have 5 weapons up front, so heavy hitters in the front arc. Oh look, more Federation. And these are actual Federation characters. This mission goes back to the war I was talking about earlier. So these are not... and there's the Targ that Grebog was talking about too. These are not Mirror Universe Terrans. This is actually Starfleet Federation guys that we are currently slaughtering. take that as you will.
So I'm supposed to have a Delta thing here.
After the battle cruisers, we have cruisers, and we may have to transition to the next map. And dreadnoughts. And if you're lucky enough to get the current only Borg ship in the game, there is one Juggernaut also. We're supposed to be holding off Starfleet security, but
it takes them a while to beam in. We have so many pets running around, they don't know where to spawn.
I believe that.
Because my one my one officer has the Horda out.
I could bring mine in too.
It's supposed to be in this section before we leave.
Okay, well, I can't see it. I'm not a Delta recruit. Did you go back in this hallway?
I went back in there. I'm not seeing the Delta thing. And I went back in here.
Usually it's on a console.
Well, normally it's like floating somewhere, like the big Delta symbol.
Did you look in the office here? Oh, here it is. I found it. There's your Delta recruit thing.
Or maybe that's your Delta recruit thing. Because I don't know that this guy's a Delta recruit.
Well, I've already ran it, so that's fine. We can go ahead and return to the ship.
Might be why I'm not seeing where it is.
I just wasn't worried about it, because I've done it all before.
I always open.
Okay, so here's an interesting choice. We, and Grebog already did it. So you have a choice to make here with a Federation ship. You can give them a warrior's death, or you can just leave them alone. Obviously, we went with the other choice.
I chose a warrior's death.
Well, they'll be happy in Stovall. And now we're talking about going back to battle. And we are going to Mars.
I like what they've done to this mission. This is one of the missions they've reworked. It used to be way different. And
it
used
is
to be...
year of the Klingon, isn't it?
Yes. Year of the Klingon. They've been reworking a lot of the older missions. Those that have done the synthwave stuff remember this base map. So...
yeah, long before the writers decided to have a bunch of Siths destroy Mars, STO did it first.
With Klingons.
Ooh, they got me.
Wow. So I'm popping everything.
I blowed up. Death before dishonor.
Well, I somehow made it back to full. I don't know what's going on with, like, I'm a giant ball of colors. Or I was.
We got a cruiser up here circling.
So for those that saw, I popped my battle cloak to try to reduce damage. My shields were gone, so it didn't... It was a risky maneuver, but it stopped them shooting me. You know.
Well, like I said, it can work.
What is this color beam following? You've got one...
Looks like it's one of the Lethian ships.
I wonder if it's one of... I have weird things. See, I don't know all of the consoles and whatnot that I have on this ship. So it could easily be one of my consoles. I do have... No, that's a weapon system siphon. So here we're trying to blow up all the ships before they load them up and start trying to help blow us up.
We're working on it. So Grebog was talking a little bit about some of the different species and governments going on that you see in game. While it is true that your character story can be whatever you want to make, so if you want to be a rogue character who left your own government to come join the KDF, you can roll it that way. But in the path leading to 2409, it talks about how the Klingon Empire actually conquered the Orions, the Gorn.
We left
we got a science vessel back here.
It's just a science vessel.
Oh, that looks like a Voyager type. Okay, and now we're supposed to escape.
But, yeah, so the Klingons, they have a Chancellor and High Council. They also have their great houses. I'm sure if
Which
you watched...
actually make up the High Council.
Yeah, I was like, and if you've watched anything of Star Trek... Well, I would say probably Deep Space Nine got more into the great houses. Next, TNG got somewhat into it, but I would definitely say like you learned more about great houses in DS9.
I don't know, maybe, but in TNG, it does talk about. Oh, here's the one that I was thinking. The portion of this mission that I was thinking of. Originally, didn't you run this mission in a shuttle?
Maybe. I know it was broken for a while. As in, you couldn't complete it. You never got credit for blowing up all the ships.
I hadn't ran it in a while, so I never ran into that bug.
Yeah, it was good that they reworked it because it needed it. Some of the notable houses that you will see in the story are Moog, Martok, and Duras. Or, yeah.
Duras is actually in TNG.
Yeah,
DS9,
the sisters.
And in not in Voyager, but in Enterprise.
The sisters.
Yes, it's the Duras sisters.
More Starfleet ships. Eliminate them.
More Starfleet ships.
Send them to Sto-Vo Kor. I mean, I guess we are fairly close to Earth, but, you know, gee whiz.
It's fine.
I like how they're focused on using a lot of shield repairs, because that's totally what the Federation would do.
Well, and that's something you will notice if you play KDF, fighting against the Feds. They do a lot of shield repairs, shield extensions. So you'll see one ship extend its shields to another ship. You know, and stuff like that.
So in the Orions, or the Orion Syndicate, as it's primarily known, is little more than a criminal organization. You see that in a lot of the different series, all the way back to the original series. What we found out in Enterprise was the Orion females, which typically show themselves to be slave girls, are actually not. They tend to be the leaders of the Orion Society. And they use the disguise of being a slave girl to play on the sympathies of others. And it works for them pretty well. Um, Although not all of the Orions are slavers and thieves and thugs, there are Orion traders um, that just go around like Ferengi and try to make the best life for themselves they can. So they're not all bad people.
Cells nearby.
The Lethians, another race you can pick here, are actually psionicists or psionics. They only show up that I know of in one episode of Deep Space Nine, where they're kind of messing with the Doctor's head, with Julian's head, kind of make him go through a vision world of his own nightmares. It's kind of crazy.
Crazy.
The Nausicaans, throughout most of Star Trek, the Nausicaans are shown to be bodyguards. That's what they're primarily hired out as. In Enterprise, we also saw them being pirates and raiders. So we saw another side to the Nausicaans there.
Stop shooting my targ.
Although maybe, so at the end of the episode with the Nausicaans, Jonathan Arthur kind of lets them know that things in the quadrant are changing, that a lot of Federation ships are going to be out there and policing the trade routes and whatnot. So maybe that's what kind of forced the Nausicaans to switch from a life of piracy to, a life of saving people or protecting people. Now, granted, they don't always protect the nicest of people, but it's a legitimate job.
Like a hot ever. I will die a warrior to directions and created as there is a cargo.
And then there's the Gorn. I like the Gorn.
Well, I think a lot of people like the Gorn. Originally, the Gorn were introduced as an antagonist facing off with James Kirk. I believe they got into a fist fight, but then again, who did Kirk not get in a fist fight with? Or sleep with? One or the other. Sometimes both.
Either way, his shirt came off. Or got torn.
True enough.
It's the episode where everyone makes fun of because he ends up making like a rudimentary laser or something to that effect. And yeah, I mean it's so notable that even Galaxy Quest, the movie, they make fun of that.
Well, I mean, Galaxy Quest made fun of a lot of stuff, to be fair.
Well, I know, but you know. Can you make a rudimentary lathe? What? Yes, a rudimentary lathe. That'll help out greatly. But, didn't, one of the Gorns become leader of the KDF for a while?
Not that I know of, but there is a prominent Gorn ambassador.
Okay, maybe he's just the ambassador. Maybe that's what it is.
Satas, who is the single largest character in STO that I'm aware of. Dude is huge.
Yeah. You don't want to piss him off.
I mean, he towers even above, like, the Jem'Hadar characters that I've seen where people, in quotes, maxed out all the bars. You know, for height and muscles, and just made your guy look like he's willing to beat anybody down at the drop of a hat. And Satas still towers over him. Him, whatever.
Apparently, the Targs launch like it looks like a flame grenade type thing.
Yeah, I'm seeing that. They're not really charging in, are they?
No, I was expecting more of a I'm gonna burn you with my tusks type thing. So here we're just going to defend. Here, I'll get some clones. I need some copies of me.
I believe it's the Gorn also that have a belief that most of the alpha and beta quadrants are their ancestral, homelands. So they believe all that area belongs to them by default. Clearly, the other races that live there don't agree with that assessment, but
I love how the pets just start chasing down everybody.
what is it with the lizard races in Star Trek believing that they own everything? I mean, you see it with the Gorn, you see it with the Voth. You see it with the Turay.
Oh, now you keep pointing it out. It's gonna seem all kind of one note ish, you know.
I'm just saying. Oh yeah, they are shooting stuff. That's kind of cool. That makes me wonder what the other Targ's gonna do.
Does make me wonder, because like, my one targ got so much hate because he was just like when we were fighting, he started getting attacked by everything. I'm like, why is he's standing beside me? Why is he getting threat? And then I'm like, oh, he's launching a flame grenade like thing.
So, I felt it was very important to kind of highlight the Klingons here and show this to you guys because we have a very special episode planned for next week. We are going to run a private PvP match next week. It should be fun. I haven't ran PvP, serious PvP, for several years in the game. I did, my build is built on a build that I used back in the past for PvP, so it's kind of curious to see how it does. We plan on doing these episodes periodically, and we may even end up giving some prizes out for people that can beat us. Probably won't be that hard. Oh look, hey, it's Geordi.
Yeah, Geordi.
Was not expecting to see Geordi in here.
Blow up, Geordi. We're gonna take you down, just like we do.
Oh, they hit me with the tractor beam. Can't cloak with the tractor beam on you.
Here, I'll hit him with an EM pulse. But, Nikodas knows how to do PvP builds. I have no clue. I've not done really any PvP. I build for damage and PvE scenarios, so I have no clue.
I mean, I know old PvP builds. I don't really know newer ones. There is a free zone in the game where anybody who jumps in is automatically flagged. And the last time I went in there, there was a guy that was following me around, and he would kill me within a few seconds of decloaking. Like, it was just sad. And no matter what abilities I used to try and avoid dying, his damage output just overwhelmed me. So there is that. So while, yes, I've played some PvP in the past, I'm not convinced that it has any bearing on the modern ships or more modern ships.
Track down any information related to it. Greeting.
Could be wrong, though.
Uh-huh. I just expect death. You know.
You did pretty good when we did our practice round the other day. All right, guys, so that's going to be it for our episode today. We have a special farewell.
So you want me to go first, then?
Yes, I do.
Heglume kak javum.
And that is Klingon for "It is a good day to die." See you next week, guys.
Live long and prosper?